right, welcome again to another episode of the podcast. I'm joined today once again by some very amazing, intelligent gentlemen here. They're going to introduce themselves. Who's going to go first?
What's up, guys? This is Ruben from the Media Ministries team.
Yes, sir.
For SoCal.
This is Adrian as well. We're here live. Pre-recorded. Live? No? We're live in person, right?
Yeah,
we're
correct.
here.
Yeah, technically we're live for
We're
sure.
alive and well.
Yeah, we are alive and well. So I'm excited for this episode because it's one that I think we've talked about quite a bit, like just in our normal conversations. So today we're going to be talking about the topic of artificial intelligence, AI. It's something that's just all around us. It's not going to go anywhere. And we want to just talk about that. We're going to look at a couple articles that we've seen online, essentially, and looking at what artificial intelligence is, how we use it, a couple problems that artificial intelligence is bringing, and then also some benefits and some good things that artificial intelligence is providing. And we're going to look at it from just a big lens, but also like the church lens, and look at some interesting stuff as it relates to that. So before we even kind of get into it, here, I'll give a definition of artificial intelligence that I just found really quick, and then I'm going to ask you guys what your experiences is with AI. So in case you're wondering, what is artificial intelligence? Simple definition is, in the broadest sense, is intelligence exhibited by machines, particularly computer systems, as opposed to the natural intelligence of living beings.
Humans.
Yeah, humans. So robots versus humans type of situation. So really quick, what about you guys? Like, what's your guys' experience with artificial intelligence, with AI?
Experience?
Yeah, or where'd you first hear about it? Let's go there.
I mean, movies. Like, everyone knows, was it iRobot?
iRobot was one?
iRobot was one.
Yeah.
I think that's the main one that I remember, where just the robots that live in society and they turn bad.
Yeah.
But that's how I know.
I know about Jarvis from Iron Man.
Jarvis.
Oh, true.
Yep, Jarvis.
Yeah.
That one's
Marvel.
the one that's like, okay, yeah, that one's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you get into like the one where, I forget, it's one of the Avengers one where like there's like another brain or whatever.
Oh,
but it takes over Jarvis and then it goes into a robot body.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was crazy. Yeah.
I feel like most of the times that we hear about artificial intelligence, at least in movies, it's always when artificial intelligence goes bad.
Oh, yeah.
When robots
I think
go
that's
bad.
why anyone, I mean, I don't want to get ahead, but when anyone talks about AI, you're like, oh, a little sketch, because, I mean, we saw it growing up in movies and stuff like that, so. I
feel like they're conditioning to us, conditioning us to
Exactly.
it. Yeah, like this thing could go really wrong.
Yeah.
I think for me, one of the first times I've heard about artificial intelligence, was there's this old movie called War Games. So it's kind of like artificial intelligence. It's like a movie in the 80s. I saw it, not in the 80s because I'm not that. Well, whatever. Anyways, moving on. I saw it like at some point in the 90s, and it was about like some kid that accidentally. It's kind of like artificial intelligence. Accidentally tapped into. He was playing a game. Accidentally tapped into like the U.S. military NORAD system, like war system, and he thought he was playing a game against the Soviet Union, and come to find out that he was actually like about to start a war. Essentially, yeah, he didn't know, so he was about to like actually.
That's wild.
Yeah, basically like send missiles out to Russia. So it's kind of wild. But then the other one is it goes with like AI. Is I remember when it was a big deal where they were having Coachella, and all of a sudden like they had Tupac appear, and he was like CGI Tupac, and he did a whole like concert performance.
I heard about that.
Yeah, that was one of the first times I was like, it just kind of caught my attention.
Yeah.
I mean, for all we know, it was Tupac, right?
I mean,
I don't know.
depends who you ask, but yeah.
Yeah, he's still alive, right?
You know what?
That
I mean, there's always a new song from Tupac, right? No, I was just kidding.
is true. Yeah,
Imagine.
that is true. He comes out with a new album every year for sure. Cool. All right. So really quick, what I'm gonna do is you guys don't know about this, but I'm gonna pull something up for you guys to look at. I want to see how well you guys are able to distinguish if something is AI or if something is human-made or man-made. All right. So what I did was I went online on ChatGPT, and I was working with them, and I asked ChatGPT to compose me a Christian song. a Christian song with lyrics and with verses. And I'm going to show it to you guys right now. And I want you guys to look at the lyrics. We're going to read them out loud. And then you're going to tell me whether one of them is AI or which one is AI, which one's human made, or if they're both AI or if they're both human made. All right. So you guys got a couple options. So let's see if you're able to distinguish it, and then also see if we'll see how well AI is, how well AI works. So here we go. I got 2 songs. First song is called Amazing Love. And this is the first verse. It says, I'm so amazed at how you take my life and love me more than I desire. I'm blown away by your power to change this life. Once more, I'm planted in you. And then it goes to probably like a pre-chorus. It says, who would know that I was once on a road so far away from you? All I know is that I live my life to show the world your amazing love. Your amazing love. Here's the chorus. Your love is pure. Your love so divine. Your love transforms my soul, my mind. Your love has the power to bring new hope. Amazing love, amazing love. Real quick before we look at the other song, what do you guys think?
It sounds like Elevation Worship wrote this. No, I'm just kidding.
Imagine.
I mean,
I think it's more
it
Chris
makes
Tomlin.
sense. It makes sense.
It makes sense.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah. You think it's Chris Tomlin? Chris Tomlin-y?
Yeah.
Is that a word? Chris Tomlin-y?
Right.
For me, I think it feels like more AI.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it's more of like the lyrics are more like kind of just like, how do you say it? It's more like general, you know?
More general lyrics?
It feels like more general, you know?
Does it feel like it has a soul, like a heart to it, a human element?
No.
It does not.
At least for me, no.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it feels more robotic to you.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, how do you agree with that, Ruben, or no? What's your?
I don't know. I
take
mean,
on
like
it?
the chorus when it says, "Your love is pure. Your love is so divine. Your love transforms my soul, my mind. Your love has the power to bring new hope." I mean, it's hard.
It's hard.
I can see what you're talking about. Actually, yeah.
Okay. So the general feeling right now is like amazing. Love this song. Feels like it's lacking a little soul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
a little
Right.
bit.
Okay. A little bit. Okay. Cool. Okay. Let's look at the other one, and then can compare. Maybe you might change your mind with once we read this one. So this one's called "I'm So Amazed." It says, "In the depths of despair, you were there, holding me close with your tender care.
Bars.
When the storms raged on and fear took hold, your love remained unbreakable, bold." That's kind of cool. "Through every trial, you were faithful and true. Your love a beacon guiding me through. In your embrace, all my fears dissolve. For your love is greater than all. Your love, a fire that never dies, a beacon of hope in the darkest skies. In every struggle, in every fight, your love is my strength, my guiding light."
That has a soul.
You feel like that has a
Yeah,
soul?
oh yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys.
Yeah.
What part kind of stands out to you? Or you're just in general.
Your love, a fire that never dies, a beacon of hope in the darkest skies. In every struggle and every fight, that part. Yeah, your love is my strength, my guiding light, for sure.
Yeah. This sounds something like someone like wrote it from their heart,
Yeah.
and that others can relate to and connect with. Yeah.
So like more personal, as you're saying.
Yeah.
kind of?
Yeah.
Gotcha. More of the human element part. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So that's where you guys are going to stand?
So yeah. So
Okay.
AI.
Okay, first one is AI. Second one is I'm So Amazed.
Yep.
Is there any possibility that none of them are AI? Is there a possibility that both of them are AI? Or you guys feel pretty good about where it stands?
I mean, there's a possibility. I think. Even though the Amazing Love song kind of sounds a little like heartless, or not heartless, but like doesn't have that soul, it still sounds like someone could have wrote that.
hmm
Yeah.
But you're still sticking with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm sticking with it as well. Yeah. There's always that one possibility, but I feel like I'm pretty firm on that.
What is it?
We'll see.
Cool.
We'll see.
I need to know.
You need to know. Okay, cool. Well, you guys will be pleasantly surprised, I
Amazed?
suppose. You guys will be amazed by love. I'm so amazed. Yeah, so the answer to this is that you guys are both wrong.
No way.
You guys are absolutely wrong.
No way.
Is it backwards?
It's backwards. Amazing Love is written by a human being. It was written by Hillsong Worship, I think.
No way.
And then the second song, I'm So Amazed, was written by AI.
Wow.
Yeah, thoughts. What are your thoughts?
I'm scared. Just kidding.
I'm literally speechless.
No,
right now.
that's
Are you saying the writer of the Hillsong Amazing Love song has no soul? Okay, I'm just trying to. Let me try to flip it on you real quick.
I know, right? No.
Let's just take that part. You know, like he has a soul. Yeah, Hillsong, you have a soul.
Yeah.
He just wasn't tapped in that day. To Jesus, yeah.
He wasn't locked
He
in.
was,
yeah.
he was
like
rushed
this,
to
yeah.
write this song.
Yeah, yeah.
Just kidding.
He had a deadline.
He was on a tour bus, you know, with everything going around. You know, so yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Just had to push something out.
Yeah.
Dang,
Yeah,
that's
it's kinda
crazy.
crazy, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's just like taking a quick look. I mean, AI's gone. It's gone a long way. I think what I typed in for it to produce a song is write me a song about love and about people like going through trials, and this is what it like spit out in a matter of like maybe 10 seconds. It just do probably 5 seconds to be honest.
No way.
It just came up with the song.
Can we record
away.
it though? Because that sounds like a fire song. We could do.
It does sound like
Low-key,
a nice
yeah,
song,
yeah, yeah.
Oh.
You might get like some copyright infringement potentially from ChatGPT from
Oh, for
Google,
sure.
but it's all good. Yeah, so that's a trip, right? To see how like far and how advanced AI has basically been, it's come along along the way. Which I think you were saying something interesting. You said you're like, oh, that's kind of scary, right? A little bit that it can kind of make something so
Right.
good. And it's something that's been around for a long time when it comes to music specifically. Like, people have been using AI for quite a while to either like, come up with melodies, even to like, let's say, for example, like, auto-tune. It's a program, right? So it's like intelligence, it like being incorporated into to keep people singing the right notes or to provide some like help and support. So it's definitely like all around. It's been used all around. So it's pretty wild. Something else that... That's cool. That's a cool exercise, actually. So something else that I want to kind of bring up and talk about is, as we're talking about like the church aspect of it, there's an article recently that I saw, that I read, and about something that was going on in Germany, where a church essentially incorporated AI into their entire church service. So they went 98% like AI, in the sense of like the church, the pastor, input into ChatGPT to write a sermon, to lead worship, probably maybe to do some like liturgy as well. So what they did was they set up some massive, giant screens up at the very front, and AI basically ran the entire service. Really quick, I want to know what are your thoughts on that, on the idea that AI can just now just apparently do church without people.
I excuse me. I just think it's a little weird because like during COVID, how weird was it? Like, you could make videos and stuff and you could just like post it, right, and people would see it. But once we started getting back in person, like watching videos like as like a worship team, and you're just like watching, it feels weird, at least to me. I really can't connect with it because there's no like live person, like that's like my disconnect, like watching a screen like
Right.
sing a song and like me sing along to it. It's a little weird, especially like in like a church aspect. Like I need somebody to like be live. Can't be like, I can't go into thought like of like, oh, it's AI, and AI is running it, because I'm like, that's a little weird,
Did you say that? Was there like a congregation there?
Yeah, there's a congregation. So I'll check this out. Check out the article here. You'll see it on your screen if you're watching on YouTube. But it says, this is an article that says, on Friday, over 300 people attended an experimental ChatGPT-powered church service at St. Paul's Church in the Bavarian town of Fürth, Germany, reports the Associated Press. The 40-minute sermon included text generated by OpenAI's ChatGPT, chatbot, and delivered by avatars on a television screen above the altar. It says, the chatbot, initially personified as a bearded man with a fixed expression and monotone voice, addressed the audience by proclaiming, "Dear friends, it's an honor for me to stand here and preach to you as the first artificial intelligence at this year's Convention of Protestants in Germany." It says the unusual service took place as part of a convention called I don't know. It's German Evangelical Church Congress, an event held biannually in Germany that draws tens of thousands of attendees. The service, which includes prayers and music, was the brainchild of Jonas Simmerlin, a theologian and philosopher from the University of Vienna. Simmerlin told Associated Press that the service was about 98% from the machine. So basically, the pastor went ahead and, using ChatGPT, added all of the components to elements, and then this is what it ended up kind of producing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And the congregation knew this was going to happen, or they found out there?
Yeah, they knew it was going to happen. I think it was
Okay.
part of part of the convention. This is how it kind of kicked off.
Yeah.
And people were able to attend. And in some of the images, you see people like recording they're recording the service. I tried to look up the service like on YouTube and online, and I couldn't find it. I could only find reports of this, but I haven't been able to actually find the actual video
Right.
that they ended up using for it, the actual kind of content.
Maybe AI took it down.
It's possible. It took itself down. Yeah.
I don't know.
Thoughts?
It's I mean, first thought is that's creepy. But I mean, if it's like, what's the word? Theologically sound, then it works. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's just like Adrian was saying, it's just like knowing that it's not like a real person. It just feels weird. Like you're watching someone that doesn't even exist, like on the screen, but they're saying all the right things. So I don't know. It's weird. I mean, I would actually want to go and see it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would want to see just what how people react and how I would react. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's creepy, but I'm down.
Yeah, like
To go
you
see
think
it.
about it,
To go
like
see it.
it's gonna tell you all the right facts, right? Because it's it's intelligent.
But is it?
I'm pretty sure, right?
Well, I mean, think about like, there's thousands of churches, right? Like,
Right.
there's a church out there you'll go to and you're like, that doesn't sound right, like to a real human, right? Like,
Right.
maybe their theology is off or whatever. Like all these denominations. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the weird part because I mean it's like getting all it has to get all its information from a source, right? So if the pastor's typing in like all the stuff he wants in there, I'm pretty sure it's like a general like if it's a Catholic church, then it follows like the Catholic outlines,
Right.
or whatever. If it's a Christian church, it's gonna follow those outlines, So I'm pretty sure the information is.
I wonder if they type that
Accurate?
in, like, hey, by the way, this is Protestant or,
So
what was it?
it's a German like what is it?
Evangelical.
Evangelical, I think evangelical church.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's interesting about if you guys never used ChatGPT, you should try it out. But yeah, with ChatGPT, you can get as specific as you want. So what I typed in for the songs was write me a Christian worship song with like I said about about love and about people like going through struggles. So it can get very specific. You can have it write me create for me a German 1800 liturgy style song, and it'll spit it out, right? It'll produce it. With AI, so it pulls information from everywhere, right? The more information that's getting put into it, the more that it's able to generate. It continues to learn, and it's able to take all that in. So part of the issue with it, though, is that it's taking everything in. The good stuff, the stuff that could potentially be like really good and informative and truthful and all that, but it's also taking in things that potentially like aren't.
Right.
So it's pulling from all of that, from all of that there. So, so really quick, my question for you guys would be like, okay, say like, so Ruben, you said like you'd be down to go check it out. I think most of us probably would. How would you feel if you're up there and you're hearing, artificial intelligence avatar like giving you not just preaching to you like truth, but then also like in the application part of the sermon, it's giving you advice on how to apply this to your like daily life. Does that feel like a little bit weird or a little bit different? It's giving you advice on how to implement things.
Yeah, it's just weird, like because it's not a real person. How's not a real person gonna give me advice? You know, like you said, it's taking in the good and the bad. Like, but at the same time, it doesn't have a soul. You know, like so there's like a blockage there. Like, how am I gonna take an advice from a robot? Oh yeah, like let me tell my wife, you know, I got this advice. We should do it because this robot said. I'm like, nah, that's just a little weird, you know?
Right.
Especially I was reading it, and then it says in there, like a 50-year-old IT professional found the avatar's lack of emotions and fast speech off-putting, remarking there was no heart and no soul.
Yeah.
You know, so you can't. There's like a blockage there that because you know it's not real, like there's no. Yeah, it's just weird.
It would have been interesting to see if they did this without letting people know and see what their reaction was. Because, I mean, going into it, like knowing that, oh, I'm about to experience like a all AI church service, you're already like, oh, this is kind of, you know, weird. You're going to pick everything out. But if they didn't tell anybody, like, what would your reaction be?
Right. Yeah. So if it was like, hey, we recorded this message, this person just pre-recorded it, and we're just gonna play it. They didn't say it's like an avatar.
Right. Like,
we just got this
bishop, pastor, guest.
You think the reaction might have been a little different?
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure some people would still like. I'm sure that's super noticeable when you hear someone talk, especially if they're preaching and they just sound like monotone or whatever. I'm sure people would be like, "Oh, that sounded kind of weird," but I'm sure some people would be like, "Oh yeah," because I'm sure the AI robot would say some good things that people, amen, like, you know. So I don't know. Yeah. It's interesting.
Because it's going to sound like a real person.
Right.
You know, it's just going to sound like super monotone. I mean, you have those people all around the world that are real and they just sound just monotone. They're
flat.
Like, yeah, bro.
Just
like,
flat, yeah.
No EQ, no nothing.
Like,
you know, like, I'm like, come on, let me get some.
Throw some bass in there.
Yeah,
throw
get
some
something,
bass.
you know.
Yeah.
But you're going to have that in real life. So I'm pretty sure people, like most people wouldn't notice, you know?
Well, what's interesting is that, like, so this is like just an example of like, of the way that they experience this. I forgot to mention this. So like one of the first times I heard about AI, and it was really kind of a trippy. There's this movie that came out. It's called Her. Have you guys ever heard about it? It's with Joaquin Phoenix.
Is that newer?
It's not newer. It's maybe like 5 to 10 years old. Maybe
I feel like I
maybe
did.
somewhere around there. Let's say 5 to 10 years old.
He like cries a lot in that movie because he like is in love with a robot or something.
Yeah. So that's the movie, right? So like, it's rated R. Probably like some parts are probably rated like maybe like to be rated like TV mature or something. I don't know, just because there's some weird kind of aspects of like of that. But yeah, the whole point of it is that he's like really sad and like he's really just kind of depressed. Like this is like, you know, them living basically kind of like in the future. He's sad, depressed, he's lonely, all that stuff. And then all of a sudden they come out with this like artificial intelligence thing called, you know, basically artificial intelligence kind of program where humans are able to connect with I would say just artificial intelligence. It's not a human, it's not an actual like robot person. It's like a little earpiece that he puts into it and he's able to kind of communicate with it. He's able to like, you know, message with it and it communicates back to him. And that specific AI is like a female voice. So it becomes his like, you know, his kind of companion. Mm-hmm. And then he starts to, it's really weird. He starts to develop like feelings for this thing, for this artificial intelligence. And all of a sudden, so it has a very like human element. And then all of a sudden he ends up like in a relationship with it, with this artificial intelligence thing. And then it kind of from there, like just the weirder stuff kind of like, you know, kind of ends up happening. And I don't know if I should spoil the movie for you guys. It's been a long time or whatever.
It's fine.
Yeah. I think I go for it.
Yeah. So he's like, please tell me. So he develops emotions for it, but then like all of these other artificial kind of personalities around the world, because everybody starts to kind of use this thing, right? Mm-hmm. They're starting to connect with like this AI. Pretty soon, that AI starts to become distant. Like it doesn't answer as much as the times that, you know, he wanted to like answer. And then eventually at some point that AI like starts to communicate with all the other ones and they start to build a community and a connection with it. What? So they start communicating with each other. And then so this guy's there like super late trying to like apologizing, trying to get back with this
so
thing.
The AI cheats on him with other
essentially, yeah.
Wow.
Essentially. And then from there, like he kind of just you kind of end up realizing that like he's talking to it and that thing just doesn't respond. And it
I mean,
has
it sounds like a real relationship, like relationships.
yeah, basically, yeah. So the whole point is that like it's becoming more advanced to where like there is like human elements to it, and the more that the computer like software or artificial intelligence continues to grow and learn, because it's generative, so it means that it's continually taking more information and it's producing like more intelligence. It's also learning and creating like emotional intelligence as well. So that's kind of like the future element. So then like, and I guess the question I ask you guys, in a realistic sense, then, if it continues to grow, and it continues, and it begins to create, like the preacher specifically begins to create emotions, and it knows how to mess with its tone, with the delivery. It knows when to pause. It knows when to like tug at your heartstrings, because it's learning how we react. It's learning, like it learns how we how to get a reaction from us, from social media to all that. All that uses like intelligence. It's picking up information from us. So it's learning how to react. It's learning when to like pause to build suspense. So it'll eventually at some point be able to do that. So if it does that, does that change it all at all for you guys?
Dang, that's a lot to take in right there. It's just weird, like, because it's learning. That's the part that gets me, because it's learning like emotions. It's learning like all this stuff. Because I'm pretty sure there's like, I think there's some like part in here that they were saying like that it kind of just like they focused like the emotions on it a little bit, so that it was like maybe he was like smiling for the first part, or kind of like on the happier side, you know. So that's just crazy. Like maybe in the future it's gonna get even more realistic, which is like even crazier. But just like the part that like it's learning all this information and it's learning how to do these things, it's gonna just take over, and it's gonna be seamless, like in the future for sure.
I don't know. I feel like I could say like, I mean, if it starts to learn, if it feels more natural, like, you know, cool, yeah. But again, I go back to what we talked about in the beginning, where like we've been conditioned to know like, or to think about AI, you know, being good at one point and then turning. So if it's like starting to be more realistic and be more intelligent, will it turn like a actual human where you know, we go to church and some people just completely leave and just don't believe or whatever? Will the artificial intelligence do the same? I don't know.
Yeah. I'm always curious, like, will the artificial intelligence deconstruct like we do?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just weird, but
Right.
But I feel like, I mean, for now it should be fine.
Yeah.
I think we can still take good things from artificial intelligence, whether it's at church or whatever.
Yeah. Hey, I'm taking a really quick break from this episode just to remind you that if you're enjoying this conversation or any of the other conversations that we've had on this podcast, to go ahead and give us a share, like the podcast, subscribe to the podcast, and pass it along to other people you know will be able to benefit and will enjoy this. Also, I want to remind you that you can follow us across all social platforms at SoCal Division. That's at SoCal Division. There you'll be able to find a lot of really good content, so be sure to give us a follow. All right, back to the episode. All right, cool. Well, that's a good transition then to we can talk about next, which is what are some of the benefits or ways that we can actually use AI? Actually, let me flip it on its end really quick. So we talked about like essentially like all the conditioning that we've seen through Hollywood. You know, they're like informing us, and what's interesting too, not just that, but Hollywood, but actually people that are like programming AI, they also have specifically Elon Musk. He asked for a 6-month pause on AI, on developing and AI growing, because of the ethics of it. He's like, this thing's learning way too fast. It's getting too good at doing what it's doing. And we need to actually pause it for a second so we can realize like provide limitations on it, or realize like how bad this can actually kind of can kind of get. So so let's focus a little bit on potentially like what are some of the issues with AI. So because as Adrian, you were talking about, we were saying that in terms of sermons, like we're thinking that it could be like theologically correct, right? Especially if you're the pastor, you're the one that's telling it, hey, produce me a sermon. You can even say, produce me a theologically sound sermon on, on whatever, the Holy Spirit or on sin or whatever topic you want to do, and it'll produce something, right? However, the reality is that even if you tell it to do something, that doesn't necessarily mean that it'll actually produce it, because it might not know what theologically sound means.
Right.
Like, well, what exactly does that mean, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the problems with some stuff like AI. So I'm gonna pull up an article right here. This one might be like this one's gonna be a little interesting because it can be kind of controversial. However, this happened, so we'll go ahead and talk about it. So I'll read the headline for you guys. This is what it says. Google's Gemini controversy explained. AI model criticized by Musk and others over alleged bias. So this happened maybe like about a month ago or so. So what ended up happening specifically with Google Gemini, it says Google Gemini launched this month with a rocky and controversial rollout for the AI model, which grabbed the attention of critics such as tech billionaire Elon Musk and 538 founder Nate Silver after it generated inaccurate and offensive images, prompting an apology from Google. Essentially, I'll just explain what those images were. So what people, when the program launched, people were able to type in exactly what it is that they essentially wanted to see. So people would type in different things. They would say, hey, can you produce, an image of Genghis Khan? Can you produce an image of Abraham Lincoln? Can you produce a historical image of George Washington? A bunch of different kind of figures. And what it actually did was it produced images. However, they weren't accurate images. They were images of an example here. They asked, can you send me, can you produce an image of a Viking? What it did was it produced inaccurate images. All of the images that came out were actually non-white. So,
oh my gosh.
So here we have an image of the founding fathers in 1789, right? And we look at the image there, and they're basically like non-white characters.
Wow.
Right? So featuring embodying
Is
the
that
spirit.
George Washington?
So this here's
that's hilarious.
Wow.
Yeah. So here showed like a black man representing George Washington in a wig wearing the army uniform. Check these out. So it asked like produce an image of the Pope, and it produced a female image of the Pope.
What?
Actually, and then like a African American or African image of the Pope. So when this happened, obviously like people were absolutely upset, and it ended up losing, or Google ended up losing, I forgot how many billions of dollars. People saw it and people were, kind of like offended by it because they're like inaccurate images, right?
Right.
And this is like a very famous painting. I think it's called The Girl with the Pearl Earring, right? And it's clearly not the original image there. So it ended up just changing the depictions of so many people. And once again, it was just like non-white people it showed, right? So the controversy behind all of that is that AI, Chat GPT or whatever these programs are, is that they're all at the authority or whatever you want to call it of programmers, right? So this thing is intelligent. However, there's programming. There's people that program things into these artificial intelligence, kind of systems and coding, where that can produce like faulty images, like this type of thing here.
Yeah. Right.
So it all goes back to like people like naturally have biases. Like all of us have like natural biases that we have. So really quick, I want to get your guys' thoughts. Like, what are your thoughts on that when you guys just saw that?
First thought to me, that's hilarious. But that's, like you're saying, it's kind of interesting that these programmers are literally saying whatever people type in, make sure they're a certain, race or ethnic group, and it makes you think like even though it's AI, like it's still being controlled by us humans,
By programmers.
programmers, right?
Yeah.
It's so interesting. It's so funny.
Right?
Yeah.
Crazy. Adrian, what are your thoughts?
I just think it's weird, but like I'm trying to think about like, was the idea behind it like trying to be inclusive? Was that like the thing, or was it like, was it just generally like, hey, we're gonna pop up a picture of George Washington, but he could be any race, like it didn't specifically need to be like a African American, George Washington, but I mean, he could have been Mexican for all we know, but
Jorge?
like,
But
Washington?
but go ahead.
yeah, I'm just saying, like, it's weird, but like, was it trying to be inclusive? Like, was the not just like, oh, let me just make it a race thing. Let me just make it inclusive programming. So, that's the take where I'm going from.
I just think, I mean, I understand that, but I think this is not the way to do that because these are actual historical people that
Right.
we know are not African American or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
So I feel like this is not the way to do that.
Right.
And I understand why people were offended. I mean, it really is offensive because
It's George Washington.
You're removing that person's, how we know them from history almost.
Yeah, so Adrian, like just to jump on what you were saying, so that's been the criticism that that people are having is that I think it is part of this desire to be inclusive of people, right? And and to be diverse and all of that stuff. But as Ruben was saying, the problem is that like that's not the space and the place for it, right? Especially when you're talking about historical figures, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like you said, it's kind of offensive to be honest, because if we were to say like, hey, pull up a picture of of your mom or your family member, right? And they pulled up a picture of a purple dinosaur or something, you're like, what are you doing? Like that's not that's not it. You're trying to be like welcoming or open arms, but you're like producing something that's like historically like inaccurate. So as crazy as that is, I think that goes to the point of like this is all at the being steered and guided by people,
Right.
and the problem is that people have biases,
Right.
People have agendas. People like so with these articles, like people with this stuff, like people are calling for like just basically saying like, oh, you guys messed up because you guys showed what your guys' like true like real intentions are. And they ended up taking this down.
No way.
Yeah, they took it down. I'm telling you, it lost a ton of money. So even with these images, these are like kind of offensive, obviously, because they're like some crazy World War II images. But once again, like it's not showing the actual people; it's showing people of different ethnicities in these uniforms. So Google ended up shutting this down and said, "Hey, okay, we're going to go ahead and take a couple months to retool this and fix this problem." There's some people that have been saying, well, Google's been saying like, hey, well, we're sorry about that. It was like, it was an error. Like we didn't necessarily mean to do this. I read another article of somebody that was within Google saying, actually, I was there the whole time. And this was like a part of like the agenda, a part of like the inclusive agenda. And they went to this type of thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's obvious.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really strange. And I think, personally, I'll say like rightly so. Like they lost a ton of money. They ended up losing a couple $1 billion off of this as a result of that. And I think that's fair.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think it's fair. And I think it's a good thing that this actually came to light because obviously this podcast isn't about like necessarily all of this, but it does go back to the point of what we were talking about, like having things that are like theologically like sound and theologically correct. Right. There's still, no matter what, there's somebody, there's truth and there's somebody at the helm, kind of guiding all of this. So it's almost like a word of caution, right? To be cautious and be aware of like what it is that we see or watch or hear. Like even if it is something that's, quote unquote intelligent and can pull in all this information and should give you the right answer to something, like it may not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you think it would ever learn the right from wrong? Or is it just like gaining all that information?
So, okay, that's one of the questions I was going to ask, or even say like concerns about AI.
Yeah.
So that goes back to like something that, about like ethics. So there's like people now like that are, they're like ethical technologists, they call them, which is basically like people that are seeing what the ethics are in terms of like technology. So what's right or wrong, good or bad, what society should do, what society shouldn't do. So I'll say, to me, one of the main concerns about AI is this like idea of like ethics, because us three, we might say like, yeah, there's some things that we definitely like across the board we feel like are right, and some things that we definitely feel that are wrong. However, like, and maybe even from a Christian standpoint, this is right, this is wrong. If somebody is a programmer that's coding things, like they may not have the same amount of ethics that we do.
Right.
So you could be getting information from somebody that like morally doesn't believe anything of what you're saying.
Right.
And if they're programming certain things into the programming, then whatever you get from this it may be like in conflict with what you believe.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's something that I mean, well, who decides that, right? Like, who decides like what is right from wrong? And I mean, there's a lot of wrong that we think is wrong, but others think it's right, and these people can be the programmers, and that's why with like the whole AI church stuff is like, who's the one, I'm sure the pastor of the church, they're the ones doing all the like, hey, this is what we want you to talk about, whatever. But again, what if there's like a not so good pastor that's like, you know what, talk about this instead. And it's just like, nah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird. It's so weird. AI is just, it's intelligent, but is it?
Right.
I don't know. It's strange.
You think they have the capability of like doing the sermon and then looking it over, then cutting certain points that
I know, like that's wrong.
yeah, like basically.
I know. Was that church? Was that live? Like everything was live, or was it?
I think it was all like
pre-recorded,
pre-produced. Yeah. So with that pastor, like I'm pretty certain he told it to do its thing.
Yeah.
I'm sure they reviewed it to make sure that
Makes
it was
sense.
like accurate and it was accurate. Make sure it's accurate, and make sure that it was like theologically sound.
Yeah.
At least that's what they should have done, right?
Right.
I'm assuming they did, which is benefit of the doubt. But that is kind of like also a problem too, right? Like if you're like, they asked you to do a devotional, to do like a sermon, like, hey, I'm just throwing ChatGPT and let me see what it says, and you don't read it over, you might be saying some crazy stuff. Yeah, you might be saying something that's like not good or not well. Yeah, I did ask it to create a progressive Christian sermon, and that was kind of funny. And then I also asked it to like a conservative Christian sermon, and that was interesting too. Like how it uses, some language, how it kind of changes a little bit. But then I also asked it to just do like a general sermon, and I still had like a little bit of like progressive Christian like lingo in there.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah. So I'm kind of curious if there's like a little bit of a bias like associated with it. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. All right. So really quick, let's talk about maybe some of the benefits of AI, some ways that it can actually like be used for good. I'll pull up an article as you guys think of like, maybe you guys can think of some stuff like of how you guys have used it for your jobs or used it for different stuff. Here's one right here. So one of the cool things about AI is that AI is actually being used to translate the Bible in every language in the world. Yeah, so I'll read this article here. It's by Relevant Magazine. It says, a team of researchers are using artificial intelligence to revolutionize the world of Bible translation, thanks to a groundbreaking project known as the Greek Room. spearheaded by Ulf Hermjakob, a senior research scientist at the University of Southern California Information Science Institute, and Joel Matthew, a research engineer at ISI. This initiative utilizes cutting-edge technology to translate the Bible into languages lacking a written version of Scripture. So it says, Bible translation has traditionally been a laborious and time-consuming process and can take over a decade to complete. Dang. Out of the world's 7,100 languages, only about 700 possess a complete copy of the Bible,
Dang.
while more than 3,500 languages have at least one book of the Bible. Over 6,000 languages lack a comprehensive version.
Wow.
That was crazy.
Yeah, so this guy said, people don't realize that there are about 7,100 languages in the world. Google Translate covers about 100 of them. Our focus for this Bible translation is on very low resources, languages that don't even fall within the top 500. So yeah, we can kind of see this here where it's actually being used for some good to be able to translate some of those languages to the Bible to different languages.
Yeah, that's super cool for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thoughts?
I mean,
Yeah.
no, well, I was gonna say, like, for me, the way I've used AI, not in a like church setting or anything like that, but as you guys know, I do graphics and stuff like that, and I use Adobe programs, and they've incorporated AI in almost every program they have now, and I started to use some of it specifically in Photoshop, and I've even already like used it for some of the projects that we've done for like some of the posters that I've created, and I mean that's one way that works for me. However, there are still some flaws, you know, like it's not accurate all the time, especially if you ask it. I mean, I've never used it this way, but if you ask it to like add people or whatever, it's always really funky. Like the people look super, almost like warped. Or I think one time there was like a person that had like extra fingers and like, you know, just stuff like that.
Right.
And things that just don't make sense. Looks really cool, but when you look at the details, it's not the best. But yeah, I think it's super cool. Like for me, as a graphic designer, and even as a photographer, because I've used it a lot with that as well, where it it easily removes things that I don't want. I could remove a whole person and it just generates the background. And yeah, I mean, I think it's very helpful. It just cuts time sometimes. I'm hoping, like, anytime I bring this up to people, they're like, oh, so you know, AI will just take over your job. I'm just like, well, I hope not. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that, you know, like we go back at the end of the day, like I hope that we can still have our jobs while using AI.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, AI won't create what we, like our creativity, right?
Right.
Or maybe it will. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it'll take over, hopefully. I don't make any promises, but yeah, because let's say you create a poster, right? And you need to remove the background, you know, like, because it's not, you know, what they want.
Right.
AI is only going to remove that background. And like, let's say, oh yeah, we don't like this branch here. Like, can you remove that? Or can you add a branch here with a bunch of leaves? Mm-hmm. Like, I'm pretty sure you could do that, but like specific stuff, like you can't really tell a person, like, you know, and, like, hey, AI, let me remove this branch on the top left or bottom left. And, you know, I'm pretty sure it could do it, but it's going to take a while, you know, instead of just, we're here in person, just, hey, can you take this off?
And at the end of the day, some of the stuff that I've used or like, you know, ask AI to add or change or whatever, it still looks kind of iffy, you know, like, for example, more recently, there was a poster I was working on that the whole background was like, this is like a jungle looking, and they wanted to change it to like mountains in the background. It was like a whole different scenery. And it created a couple different versions, but it wasn't what I wanted. And so what it does is like, I assume it's like looking at the whole image and saying, okay, I think this is what goes with, you know, even the style of artwork or whatever. But it still wasn't what I wanted. And it took me a really long time to figure out, okay, and now that I say that out loud, maybe I could have just created it on my own. But yeah, it took a while to create something that I think would kind of match, and and even then, like some of the leaves looked funky. Unless I think if you just looked at it, some random person looked at it like, oh yeah, that looks cool, and unless I told them like, oh, it was AI, then they would have never known.
Mm-hmm.
But if I told them, they'd be like, oh yeah, I can see now, I can tell.
Yeah.
But
yeah. That is one of like the interesting things about like AI, right? It's advanced a whole ton, but it hasn't been perfected. And I think we've seen a lot of posts and different things where like the one thing it can't figure out are like hands.
Yeah.
Like hands or fingers. Like it's like there's something about it that it just can't I just can't figure it out, right? Sometimes it like you can tell, like you pay attention, like it'll add extra digits.
Yeah.
Right? So a person will have like 6 fingers instead of 5 or something's off. I know hands are one. There's something else, right, that it can't do very well.
Well, there was one image I worked on, and it was a bunch of people in the image, and I think the person that I was working on had their hands up, and the area I selected to remove, it actually added a third hand, like a third arm, but that was like down.
Yeah.
Which was very interesting. So, but besides hands, I feel like what was the other thing that it? I can't remember. But there's like I don't remember.
Yeah, it's not eyes, is it?
No. Maybe clothing. I don't know.
It's not like hair or like hats or something.
No, I think it was like a feature of the body.
Oh, okay.
Like some kind of like I know for sure hands, because I remember seeing plenty of images where it just always gives somebody like an extra finger, or it's just like for the hand looks like it's broken. It looks like it just doesn't fit. Yeah, it's wonky.
You got the Bruce Almighty hands or what?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, 100%.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the ones I see on Google, they're all the hands like just extra fingers, and
yeah,
it's creepy.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, also some benefits. I think you could push out more things quicker. I mean, like they're about to translate a whole bunch of Bibles, to thousands of people, but I think that's like kind of cool, like some benefits, like just in general, like you could push out things quicker, like translate stuff, you could make stuff up, like you could, do a sermon, like you got COVID or something and you're in the hospital or something, like type something in, like a small devotion or something, stuff like that. But I don't know. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah,
that's what you feel for sure.
Yeah,
yeah, definitely.
Have you used AI for anything?
Not really. I've more like seen it.
Yeah.
I don't think in like I know we were talking about like auto tune and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's really AI. I think
Right.
it's more of like a software kind of program that auto adjusts.
Right. It's
But-
not the type of AI that we're talking about, but it's
exactly.
a form of AI.
It's a
yeah.
form. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. Like, I mean, you still have somebody programming it to do what you want it to do, and you just have to adjust a couple things. But yeah.
So I think what you're trying to talk about, like the other mistakes, is that like is proportions on like people. Like sometimes the smiles are like big, it just looks super creepy, or like the eyes like different sizes,
Right.
kind of thing. I think that's the other thing
Yeah.
that it does. It's just like the proportions on like the body is just off.
Yeah.
And I have experience with that where like not professionally or for like anybody, just messing around with AI on Photoshop. I'll like try to add, like if there's an image where someone's not smiling, I'll try to add a smile, but it's like not even the person's smile, it's just some, artificial smile, and it looks real, but it looks really creepy because I know that that's not the person's smile. Mm-hmm. Or even if, like, let's say if I did something like remove a beard from someone, make them look like they're clean shaved, it's not the person's face.
Yeah.
Almost, you know.
Just a face transplant.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So
Yeah, the other thing that I was going to say too that I actually kind of forgot about, one of the problems or issues that is coming up with AI also is, one thing that's kind of weird is that there have been like some talks about having like AI chatbots, like when it comes to like pastoral counseling, which is really weird. Yeah, so just you can think about that one for a little while. Yeah, so like incorporating that, like there's some things that it can help out with, like administrative things, like AI for sure. It can help you organize, you know, do different tasks or whatever. But that's like one of those like places where it's a little odd. So for me, like with chatbots, I don't like to communicate with chatbots. Like if I'm on Amazon or some other thing, you can tell right away when it's like, I can tell right away when it's like a real person, when it's not a real person. And I just like, no, man, just put me on with somebody, because I need to ask like a very specific question. It's always trying to figure out what you're trying to, like, what you want, and it just never really works out. It's annoying, to be honest. But that's one thing. And then it, like I said, with the church aspect, like there's some talks about it, you know, with them having like, you know, providing you counseling, which is really weird. Once again, it's just artificial intelligence doing that. But I want to talk about really quick, like what are some practical ways? Like let's try to think about the positive then right now. Like what are some practical ways you can think about that can be of benefit to like churches?
using AI.
Yeah, using AI.
Well, like the organizing, you know, like scheduling maybe for like an actual service. I mean, the worship. We saw the song at the beginning where like the song made sense and it sounded cool. Like maybe that could be used as, you know, as long as people are reviewing it and making sure it's like not saying anything weird or sketch. I think that would be cool. I don't know what else.
Would it change your feeling if you knew, like later on, you found out that the song was like not written by a person but written by AI?
Not too much. At least for me, not too much. I know. I know Adrian talked about like the whole connection, like the whole heart. But I mean, how many times do we know, like, you know, all these Christian songs that we hear, like, how do we know that that person just didn't write it just because, you know, they're getting paid or whatever? I mean, we like the song, right? It could be the same for AI.
That's true.
Where, I mean, they could write a song that literally has us on our knees or, you know, like, you know, surrendering just as well as another person. I don't know.
Yeah. So you'd be open to it.
I'd be open to it.
Yeah, for sure.
It's still a little weird.
Yeah.
To me.
I knew you say, you're all, no.
Yeah.
That's the funny part. I saw him agreeing, and I'm
I
like,
know, he's not gonna
no, definitely not.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just weird to me that something is coming up with, you know, like a worship song, especially because I'm worship is my thing, you know. So I'm like, something is creating it that like I can't just, oh, why'd you write the song? Or like, what's the background behind it? You know, like, oh yeah, AI is gonna tell me, yeah, it was a time where I was in the valley, you know, and I was, you know, going through something. Like, no, you can't. It's not.
But what about
I just can't,
like,
you know?
let's say
Your Mac was in the valley, the shadow of death.
What about excuse me, what about like, let's say you wanted to write a song and you were going through like some hard times and you just like were, I don't know what to write, and you just went on ChatGPT and you just said, look, this is what I want, like this is what I'm feeling right now,
This is what I'm going through.
This is what I'm going through. This is how I want to feel. And then it like generates the song and you're like, oh my goodness, this is what I'm thinking. These are the words that I wanted to say, but I couldn't or whatever. And then you write a song. Like you relate to it.
I don't
know.
Yes and no. It's just
What if it laughs at you? You're like, this is what I'm feeling. This is what I'm going through. It's just like,
wow, you need Jesus for sure.
Yeah. Here, jump on that one, my pastoral counseling chatbot, real quick. He got you. Here comes Pastor Larry.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's funny.
That's hilarious. I don't know.
But even then, like, let's say, I mean, you connect with the song.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I would just have to hear it, like hear this song and like how it's been played out, and so, I don't know. That's just weird to me.
I mean,
if you didn't tell me, then I'd have been like, okay, whatever, I'm down for it.
Wait, what about you?
I don't feel good about it, to be honest. Yeah, I don't feel good about it. Like, even seeing those lyrics, like, I was like, wow, that's crazy. But just knowing it kind of like it messes with me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just feel like it feels odd. I feel like it feels strange. So we can leave this for another episode, but just to kind of go with what we were talking about with music specifically, we won't get too deep into it. We can talk about it another time. But so there's been a couple lawsuits that have been coming up as well from artists because just AI has gotten so good that it's produced songs. You can make it do like, hey, write me a song, a Drake song, a song that's going to have Drake's voice. It's going to sound like Drake's style of music, and it's done it. And it's actually sounded pretty good, as well as other artists. So these artists are like, you're basically like, I didn't create it, but you're taking essentially my voice. This thing's able to learn and knows my cadence and knows, know, the different like, the different ways that my voice sounds, the inflections, all of that stuff, and it's produced songs for these different like individuals. So essentially, you could write a song where you're like, "Hey, write me a worship song in the style of Tiffany Hudson," and use her voice or whoever it is you want, Chris Brown or whatever, the Christian Chris Brown, not Rihanna's Chris Brown. So and it can do it. And you might not even know. Man. You might not even be aware that thing is not real.
Well, that's the crazy part because I was on TikTok one time, and there was this video of this streamer, and he got a phone call, and it was one of his friends asking for money. So, but it sounded like his friend, so he was like legit about it. He's like, "What do you like? Where do you want me to send it? Like, how much do you need?" and stuff like that. So he was actually talking to somebody, to his friend, which wasn't his friend. It was like a scammer, and trying to get some money from him. And then I think after, like, looking at his chat or whatever, he kind of figured it out, and he kind of was like, "Oh yeah, this is not real." I think he kind of like hung up on it.
Yeah,
right.
But like, to just copy somebody and like copy somebody like Drake, and like his whole voice and everything, like that's a red flag for sure.
Yeah, I've seen a very similar story where this person was warning others, like basically said, if you've ever made a video that's on the internet, you can be what's the word? Your voice can be hacked or whatever, can be used for, like, there was this lady who got a phone call from her daughter, like she's crying, saying like, "Oh, I've been kidnapped," or something crazy, or like, "Oh, I'm about to perish," or something, and they're freaking out. They're like, "Oh my gosh!" and they're asking for like, "Hey, you need to go here, give this person money, whatever." But it's not the real person, and they've said like, "Hey, what you should do with your family," and this is advice for everybody, is like have a secret word, secret code. Like if you ever get a phone call from someone you know and love and it sounds just like off, like ask them like, "Oh, what's the secret word?" or whatever. And if they don't answer it, then you should know that it's probably like someone hacked or stole their voice basically, and just they're trying to get money from you or whatever. Yeah, exactly. So
for sure,
that stuff is scary, dude.
Yeah,
I can't.
So here's the last thing before we end this thing. So the same thing kind of happened with my dad recently. Somebody called him. Well, two stories. One, somebody called my dad. Some lady on the phone, like yelling, crying, "I'm your daughter. I've got into like an accident. Like, help me. Like, whatever, blah, blah." My dad's like, "What?" And, whatever. I have a sister. So, yeah. My dad was like, this is like really odd. One, because it doesn't even sound like her. But this lady's like screaming at the top of her lungs, like, "Oh my God, like something's happening, blah, blah." Then a man jumps on the phone, and he's like, "I'm the police, and I'm here just telling you that she's been in a horrible accident, but she's okay. But are you like a man of your word?" Like, it was like changing the entire conversation. And my dad was like, just listen to it, and he caught on pretty quick, and he's like, "All right, cool, have a good day," and just like hung up or whatever. But yeah, like it's just really weird, kind of like scamming stuff. The other one that was really strange, and so I was gonna say I really feel bad for like obviously like the older population that is like kind of unaware of like how this stuff like kind of works. But my grandpa in Mexico, he was whatever, at his house, and he got a phone call from some guy, and some guy was like, "Hey, I'm calling you to let you know that I have your daughter," and he knew her name. Actually knew, quote unquote, like knew her name. "We have your daughter. She's here with us, and if you don't send us money, we're gonna go ahead and cut her hand off. So you need to send us money like now, whatever." And my grandpa was like, "Oh, just take both hands. I don't care." he was like, "I don't care." And he just like ended up like kind of clicking on him because he knew like right away that it wasn't like real. But yeah, it's interesting, that's like a thing. Yeah. And we can leave that for like another episode. We can talk about online scams and scamming for sure. But this world I feel like it's only going to get kind of crazier. The world of like AI and artificial intelligence. And we'll definitely see how it kind of plays out for like the church. But there are some big kind of, I think, considerations, some things to think about when it comes to like,
for sure,
the church and like using artificial intelligence. You can use it. There's a lot of good that can happen. But also like, the church has to be like vigilant, and kind of has to be like aware of like what it's saying, what it's producing, and even with stuff that's like not church related, like we talked about, like the AI Gemini, right? Like these biases and these things that are like happening in the background. You just got to be like aware of like what's going on and not believe everything that's on the internet,
right?
Because the internet's a scam.
Yeah,
cool. All right. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for jumping on the episode. And
what the listeners don't know is this whole episode was AI generated. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
What's interesting was that actually wrote an episode. Well, I asked AI to write me an episode on this exact topic, and it did. And I was actually gonna use some of it, but I decided to go with the song instead. Song written stuff, but I was gonna see what you guys thought about that.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So anyways, until next time, I was gonna chat with you guys. You guys want to say anything else?
Thanks for having us, bro.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, for sure. Until next time.
For sure.
Peace.